Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Truth webinar. We have a very special webinar today. We have our guest, Mateboho Malope. I'm going to ask Mateboho to please switch on her video. And she is head of rewards and loyalty from Vodacom. So Mateboho, welcome.
Amanda, hi. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's great to have you, it really is. And we've got a lovely list of participants today, so I'm super excited to be able to share your insights with a broader audience than just myself. So I'm going to switch off my video, but leave you on the video if that's okay. And I'm going to take everybody just through a few introduction slides, and then the most important part of today is less from me and more from you. So let me
And of course, you can see Bradshaw already has already given you my favorite brand. My most favorite brand is Pick and Pay.
And we do have Mr. Bradshaw on the line, so that's great. Great. So, John, if you're listening, you've already got a call out from our star of the show. So, first and foremost, just as I say, a special welcome to yourself. And I think for those of our attendees who don't necessarily know you, your role, you're executive head of rewards and loyalty, and you oversee the strategic ownership of everything at Vodacom in the rewards space and the customer loyalty propositions. So I think in this capacity, you've really been able to show your accountability for growing the business in terms of market share, net promoter score, brand affinity, as well as reducing churn, which I think is an incredible indicator that every single loyalty professional looks at, and obviously therefore the tenure of your customers. But you didn't start your career at Vodacom. You held some very senior positions prior to that, most notably at MTN, obviously in the competitive space today, and prior to that with Discovery Vitality. So extremely prestigious brands in South Africa and also in the loyalty space in South Africa. And I think it's worth mentioning your academic achievements are very, very, very impressive, with Gibbs Executive Leadership Program with a cum laude, and your academic achievements with BCom and MBA. So we're speaking to a real professional, everybody, and it's such an honor to have you with us. I did actually notice as well, Mateboho, when I was just doing some research to make sure I understood more about you other than what I know already, is as we have gone into load shedding, I see a long time ago you did a short stint at Eskom, so we won't blame you for that. That's a long time ago.
And that's why it was a stint, right? It was an 6 months, so my diagnosis was really spot on.
I don't even want to know what happens there. So anyway, so what I really enjoyed about our previous exchanges and why I wanted you on one of our webinars is you joined us at the Loyalty Leaders in 2019, and your quote here is just fabulous. So don't let your customers ever doubt what you are doing with their data. Do the right thing for the customer always. And I think it hits really powerfully, because we have a lot of discussions about the rights of customers' data. So thank you again for your participation then, and maybe in the future at such an event. I just wanted to put Vodacom on the map in terms of loyalty usage in South Africa. And obviously, based on today's discussion and the work that you've done, maybe this is going to change in the next 12 months. But currently, we see Vodacom about midway, maybe slightly under midway in the top 25 most used loyalty programs. Obviously, this comes from the Truth and Brand Map Loyalty White Paper of used programs. And it's dominated very much by retail, no surprise there, and then some of the financial services firms. But yourselves, you are there ahead of your competitor in the telco environment, but I think you would agree it'd be great to see that to move towards the left-hand side. We don't see much change by gender in terms of usage, just 1 percentage point higher on female, but we do see a change on age. So the younger customer most definitely enjoys using your program more than an older customer. So it'd be great later in this discussion to chat to you about that. And then last year in the South African Loyalty Awards, you successfully won the best loyalty marketing campaign. I'm not going to read through all that. It's all available through the South African Loyalty Awards website, but it was super great to see such a great brand as yours as one of the winners of those categories. And later this year, in the next couple of months, we will have the results of the 2020 South African Loyalty Awards. It'd be wonderful to see if that is repeated at all. I can't tell you how that's progressed as yet. The judges are still very busy at the moment. So very quickly, I'm not going to do any credit by trying to introduce your program, other than obviously this week we've seen a press release, we've seen your explanation of the program on the back of a very successful proof of concept campaign, a huge number of customers and some very big numbers in terms of engagement levels, acquisition levels, redemption levels. It's a free to join program. There's very clear earn rules. There's very interesting redemption rules. And I'm not going to say another word on that because I won't do it justice. That's why you're here today. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking and make sure everyone can hear from yourself. So here's just a couple of nice screenshots. I've been playing around on your program myself.
I see you having fun.
I'm particularly enjoying the daily shake a little bit more and so forth. So anyway, so the questions that I'm going to put to you, but I can see already there's questions coming in from our participants. So let's get through these questions as quickly as we can without not doing them justice, and then let the audience ask what they really want to ask. So in your press release, you talk about 24 million opt-ins, which is a gargantuan number in loyalty terms. There isn't another loyalty program that I know of that has that kind of numbers. Certainly in South Africa, there are maybe internationally, but not in South Africa.
Yeah.
What do you, is it the largest in your opinion? And what constitutes that 24 million customers?
Okay, cool. So thank you so much, Amanda, for this opportunity. But I think maybe in answering, I would start with the latter question around what constitutes it. As you know, Vodacom, our active base is 30-day active. It's about 25 million customers. So for us, I think hitting that threshold was really what we were aiming for. We were aiming to fully penetrate our 30-day active base. So I guess relative to the loyalty industry, yes, it's a huge number. But if you bring it into telco, it's an expected number if you really are deliberate and intentional about disrupting your own model. So yeah, I would say it's a significant number, but it's benchmarked against your 30-day active. So if you're penetrating that, then you've put skin in the game at an organizational point of view, because as you guys know, loyalty is often seen as a standalone. We finally really managed to get to a state where we are embedding loyalty mechanics into customer experience, thereby underpinning the organizational strategy. So yeah, that said, I think it was an ambitious target, and there was a brilliant team behind it. And there was equally a very informed strategic intent when we build the summer campaign to say, we don't want to call out the currency, but instead what we'll do, we'll call out the shake-up, but behind it, there's this mechanic in the engine that we're testing the behavioral aspect of it. And we'll see how the uptake, comes out, and then leverage that to relaunch. And that's why a lot of people really, they probably couldn't see it coming, because we just sneaked it in behind our summer campaign. And again, that was really one of the best, I think, strategic direction, because summer campaign, that's where you get the hype. That's probably the biggest thing at any given point in time for telco. So yeah, it really gave us the scale and it delivered. So yeah.
Great, and the scale is impressive. So I guess my next question, which I often ask loyalty operators, is you may be able to boast huge numbers in terms of membership, but what kind of activity rate is going on there? Like, is it just lots of people who have signed up because that's the process? And then are they engaged? What is the activity level?
Okay, cool. So given, I would take you to a space where we were live with the promo. I'll call it promo because we just transitioned into a permanent relaunch. Our daily engagement was really sitting consistently at anything between 6 to 8 million customers per day. And when you hit your month-end cycle, because that's where prepaid recharges are spiking due to people having access to their salaries or income, There you would see 10 million customers easily per day. So that's really the type of engagement that you see. And the 24 million customers, they're not just there as a number. Remember, by virtue of recharging, it really gets you into the ecosystem. And once you've got a taste of a VodaBucks, I guess you get hooked, because that's how we really designed our model, that we have a daily hook that will get you connected into our network. As you know, with telco, the biggest thing is the multi-SIMing concept. So it's actually quite critical for us to hook you and keep you into our network. Otherwise, you're going to go and multi-SIM. So I would say really the 24 million is not just a window dressing. It's a real number that really yields the right incrementality that we expect out of it.
It's incredible numbers, and I guess, as you say, in your industry, not as surprising as maybe some of the retailing or banking environments, but even so, it's good to hear that the activity rates are not low compared to the actual membership numbers. So I think if you don't mind, if you could very simply, because not everybody on the webinar may have actually used your program, can you very simply explain how the user actually earns VodaBucks? And then obviously after that, I'll ask you the next question is, how do I redeem and extract value?
Okay, cool. So it's very funny, because I mean, one would think you have 24 million customers, you can't still see people joining. So you first have to join. We are still in a recruitment phase. So once you've joined, the program itself, it's free to join. You're going to be really absolutely having access to boundless rewards. The first one being like the daily shake. That one you don't have to do anything. As long as you've opted in, we reward you just for opting in. And we call it a hook. But Vodacom customers get rewarded for the things that they're already doing. So if you recharge, which you are currently doing, we reward you with VodaBucks. If you use my Vodacom app, we reward you with VodaBucks. I mean, the key thing for us that gives us scale is customers actually achieving their behavioral goals. So we have behavioral goals that we're embedding based on your usage profile, and these can be in the form of a transactional activity or non-transactional activity. And the coolest piece that we really pride ourselves with is unlocking the postpaid customer ability to earn VodaBucks at the back of their bill settlement. I mean, that's a big one for us. Postpaid customers previously said that they don't feel part of it. So we've unlocked the ability for them to earn on their subscription, and anything else that they do with us. Whether you are buying a bundle through a financial institution, you'll get VodaBucks allocated onto your wallet, as well as our non-transactional behavioral goals.
Great. As a subscriber, that's great to hear. So thank you. I know that's been a big dilemma in the telco environment of the prepaid versus contract customers. So in the redemption space, we obviously had a nice chat before we came live for the webinar. I think there's something quite exciting you want to talk through in the redemption space. So maybe just take the audience through how you redeem, what all the added extras are, where you can redeem through the VodaBucks store, and then the other principle that you talked to me through earlier.
Okay, cool. And I think perhaps maybe before I get into the how we redeem, I would likely first really reflect on what informed that which you're going to redeem on. So we have what we call the reimagined reward strategy that was like informed by looming consumer trends in South Africa. Remember, we launched, or rather, we were in build during lockdown. So our entire commercialization was virtually, either with our partners or with our like a delivery team. So it was a virtual build from the beginning all the way to the end. And I would probably maybe claim that it is the first loyalty program that was built virtually. So our reimagined strategy really is embedded on the South African consumer voice, where a South African consumer voice all of a sudden is highly price sensitive, more than ever, given the impact of the pandemic. And they are suddenly experiencing an increased consumption, like digital consumption. They are very much, conscious about their well-being. They're nesting at home because of, the lockdown. And of course, that brings or draws one to the whole narrative of, my reason for existence. So purpose suddenly becomes very critical. So that's how we really put it together to say anything that's going to live either in a VodaBucks store or the mega shake has to resonate around these principles of, South African voice that says, I need you to be relevant. And I think even last year, I made mention around the fact that relevance is critical. So customers can redeem their VodaBucks in really what we call our digital storefront, which is the VodaBucks store. You get all categories, any of your favorite brands, you will get it in the VodaBucks store. And what we've enhanced is to give our customers ability to now, part pay with VodaBucks and credit card, which is a feature that wasn't there during our summer campaign. So, and then the Mega Shake is really what we call something that is a gimmick for those that are looking for some more fun. You can exchange your VodaBucks, 5 VodaBucks for a Mega Shake. But we do see the VodaBucks store as the epic and really the anchor of our proposition. And the reason for that really is because for almost 14 years, when we had talking points, Vodacom could never go to market with a single value messaging and speak to all our customers at once. We had prepaid proposition as standalone away from the postpaid proposition. So for the first time, we're able to have a universal currency that allows us to communicate a single value messaging, irrespective of what payment type you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what I've been most interested in and most impressed by, because previously, as you say, it's just been so many different propositions and confusing for the customer. But I think your Mega Shape, I was busy shaking the phone the other day at the airport. I think people thought I was a bit crazy. So it's good to actually use it and enjoy it. We often, in the loyalty, the Truth and Brand Map white paper, we discussed what customers actually most enjoy getting from loyalty programs. So the actual most used or claimed benefits, and typically we've seen in the past that's been dominated by cashback. You've seen those graphs in our white paper, but I think what's more important than a generic response for the South African population, we've got you and your program in front of us. So what I know it's obviously terribly early days, but from the summer campaign and so forth, what are the most favored redemption options? And in particular, I wanted to ask you, how does the travel rewards element work? Because we do see travel dominated in some of the banking propositions or the vitality proposition. I was delighted to see it here as well. So I think if you could share that with us, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, cool. So I think really the answer is actually going to be interesting to see how the evolution plays out. So the biggest channel for us, it was really the Mega Shake. I mean, 99% of our redemption sits on Mega Shake. But that was almost, I would say, it was intentional. We had bias in the construct of how we designed the program. That was the first key. But the second reason really is because customers would never get enough of data. So I guess that's the benefit of running, a loyalty program where your mother brand have access to data and airtime, which is something that your mass customer is always looking for. So Mega Shake was really key because it gave customers also instant gratification. We almost made it look so predictable because we were not investing heavily on lifestyle rewards on that channel. So it's a channel that was almost, a customer knew that I'll either get a 1 gig WhatsApp bundle or airtime, so, and then they tap into it like almost instantly. But from the broader strategic design, the VodaBucks store was actually really a concept we wanted to test to amplify a postpaid customer proposition. You mentioned it earlier on that you were shaking your phone and people probably thought you were crazy. And we are mindful of that, and we know that our high value type of a customer would not necessarily find Shake compelling, and hence we then integrated the VodaBucks store as an amplifier to see if we can nudge a high value customer to start engaging. So one could then say, given the smartphone penetration, given the types of offers that we had in the VodaBucks store, and the highest propensity to earn of that of your high value customer, VodaBucks store seemed a very relevant channel for our high value customers. And it was never meant to be like a 40% redemption. We knew that it would probably be between 2% at most, but Mega Shake was really the most driving anchor for the mess. And remember, from an engagement point of view, 70% of our engagement comes from the mess, which are value seekers, which are like your USSD type of a customer, and Mega Shake is there. But the VodaBucks store is what we intentionally also placed in the My Vodacom app only as a strategic lever to migrate our smartphone, users into the My Vodacom app. So customers are still so much biased into USSD. So really that's primarily the reasons that drove the distribution of the redemptions. So you spoke about travel. So travel for us, it's actually very like with the store, you have all categories. And if you go into the VodaBucks store, you actually get a travel category in the VodaBucks store. So that is a universal proposition that is accessible to the entire base. But then we went further on and say, Mr. Postpaid customer, we've heard you, okay? Not only are we going to allow you to earn on your bill settlement, you will get to use VodaBucks as well in the store, but exclusively for you, because you've given us a longevity commitment, we will avail a travel benefit of up to 50% on, international and domestic flights and car rental and accommodation. And we partner with brands that gives us global reach. So we're very, very specific about who we partner with. And then we added further on and said, we will also give you a new device every year on our platinum program. Of course, if it's by invitation, but it's accessible and exclusive for postpaid customers. So I would say a prepaid customer has always had access to multiple offers in terms of value from Vodacom as a proposition. However, postpaid were almost neglected. And I think we just really overly invested, and it's going to be quite interesting to see how, we move the needle by virtue of the investment that we made behind the loyalty program.
I think that lends itself for a future webinar where we can invite you back to discuss that. I think now, thank you for sharing so that everybody can now truly understand your thinking behind the proposition. So I think that's a good, thorough introduction to the proposition. I have two last questions, and then I'd really like to look at the questions brought to the webinar from our audience. Yeah. Let's move away from the proposition and actually start talking about what loyalty professionals want to hear from someone such as yourself, having launched such a huge program. What has actually been your biggest challenge to date?
Do you want the long or the short answer?
I think let's give the short answer, and then we can let people ask their questions, because I'm sure a lot of the guys on the video actually have their own challenges and they'd probably like to ask you to help them solve them. Okay,
so I would say it's really twofold. So that's the short answer. It's twofold. It's the internal strategic dynamics that you have to, master. So you really have to navigate. You gotta know how to navigate to get that which you believe in, to land, with the right level of sponsorship in an organization the size of Vodacom. So that bit of socializing your vision, really lobbying and navigating and pitching like a million times, and just like literally consistently pitching the same thing over 2 years. Like that's probably been the most complex for me, coming from discovery, where in a month you almost execute about 3 months worth of work in another organization. Not being able to launch something in the first 6 months has probably been the biggest challenge that I've ever experienced. I don't know how many times I've resigned and I've got hired and I had to retract, and You know, it's just been very hard to socialize the strategy for the organization to really see loyalty as, you know, an anchor to drive value for business. That has been the most complex. And then the second piece has been, say you manage to partner with, you know, Vodacom, the mother brand. You have access to 25 million customers, and you've leveraged their summer campaign to prototype your idea that you've been screaming and putting your hand up, and finally someone listened. Now the challenge is, how are you then going to sustain the relevance of your rewards given the mix of the base that you have? So that's a continuous challenge to say rewards have to be relevant, and we don't always get it right. And I know John would be shaking just now as we speak, and then he's going to tell me that I gave him a Pinterest, data bundle as a reward. So that has been the biggest challenge. So it's two. You have one internal, and then another one is customer facing. You get it right, you have a happy customer. You get it wrong, you have a very unhappy customer who can easily withdraw and hop onto the next mobile operator.
I think your first point interests me enormously. They both interest me, obviously, but the first point, I was recently asked, in fact, the last week, around doing a survey over what are the most critical skill sets loyalty professionals need globally. And there was an open field at the bottom where you could add stuff that wasn't already mentioned, and I added change management, because exactly your first point, how do you get the big corporate organizations to A, take it seriously, B, understand what you're trying to achieve, and C, be prepared to put the money behind the story, not just sort of and
so I think, Amanda, in touching into the skill set that is required, that's the piece that fascinates me the most. And so if people ask me what I do, I don't see myself as a loyalty expert. I see myself as a generalist. That's my role. Because for a loyalty proposition to really succeed in the business, you gotta understand the entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
And for you to understand that, that's what will yield conversations that are relevant with relevant stakeholders. So, and that's what I like about loyalty. So you cannot be an expert. You gotta be in the call center listening to customer calling in. You gotta know what's the most frequently, complaints that you're getting in the organization. So you can't be in your little tiny box. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
You have to partner, and that's why I said there's a lot of socialization and lobbying. And once you start building, you craft your strategy, you set the vision, you commercialize it through partnerships, you operationalize it internally, you map those journeys, you craft that architectural design. You may not be an architect, but you must be able to tell an architect what you want and how you want it. And while you're learning from them, obviously sometimes they talk and you're like, what the hell are you saying? And then tomorrow you're going to come back and tell him, I don't want this, it's missing X and Y. You gotta be a leader, be able to, and when I say a leader, I mean not in the sense that you manage people, but you actually gotta get stuff done through others. That's probably the biggest challenge, because I don't know, I mean, most loyalty teams, except for some guys that are very privileged, like Discovery, where you'll have a headcount of 500 people in Vitality, just focusing on that single value messaging and the same vision. With at least where I am in most organizations, loyalty is always about 3 or 5 people in a loyalty division, and the rest you are just leveraging from IT to project office to marketing, to like literally to access to funds. You don't have your own, like I almost feel like I wish if I can have my own incubator, with a set of people that speaks the same language, because half the time you sound like an alien, in telco, where people couldn't care about loyalty. The DNA is to run a business of just selling data and airtime. So I would say you have to be a generalist. You gotta know everything. Like now we're running e-commerce, we're selling appliances and smack kettles, all of a sudden I'm running a store, you know, in a digital storefront.
Yeah, and that requires different skills.
Yeah.
Mateboho, I did have another question, but I'm actually going to shift to the questions being put forward because I think that's what everyone's given their time for. So there's one beautiful comment from a lady called Lee Crimble. She has no question. I just want to say, we love you, Mateboho, from Breadcrumbs. So I thought that was quite sweet. And then another one that says anonymous attendee. I don't know if it is totally anonymous, but a question.
We know her.
The next one is a question for Mateboho. Who is your favorite partner and why is it Pick and Pay? Okay, let's let me skip that one out.
We know who that is.
I think so, yeah. Lynn from Discam, I'd like to know if there is a plan or strategy for contract customers or the target market as pay as you go. I think that's actually, that probably was posted before you answered that. So you've been very clear since, I think Lynn put that question up, that postpaid contract customers actually seriously benefit from this program.
Yeah, yeah.
An anonymous question, how, this is a, you know, quite a serious question now, so let's buckle down to it. How are you assessing the ROI? What is the bottom line impact that you can attribute to the loyalty program into profits or new customers?
Okay, so the ROI piece of it was really, and I guess that's probably the most difficult, right? So I'll use the summer campaign initiative that we ran because that's what we used to prototype. And then on the relaunch, I'll speak to how we're going to measure that. But the way the team, and I always say we, because it's not something that you can do alone, you have to partner. But what the guys really put together is that daily shake that I call the hook. It's just to nudge you into the ecosystem. And you would hear that I've spent a lot of time with Lee, because she's a bit bullish about, you know, how you engage your customers. So I've really learned a lot. And that's another thing, by the way, so I'm digressing, but to be successful in this game, you really got to leverage on, you know, stuff on demand and leverage assets and expertise from, you know, the industry. You cannot do it alone. So I've borrowed a whole host of things from Lee and will always forever be grateful. But we had key metrics that we wanted to measure. So the daily hook is really something that customers come, your value seekers, they get something for free. But in there, we are really, you know, upselling and cross-selling and pushing a deal and we give you the best deal. And then we are able then, as you take up that offer, that's how we measure incrementality. And we were watching it on a daily basis. If you go to Shamil's, I think Q3 results, you will see that, you know, for the first time for Vodacom, the summer campaign was mentioned as one of the key anchor drivers that really yielded the performance that Vodacom saw in Q3. So the numbers were very, very significant from a financial incrementality, but equally, I mean, the finance aspect of it, which is more on the business side, that was like exponentially a success. But from a loyalty point of view, the ROI was the level of engagement that we were getting on a daily basis. I mean, to have 10 million people coming to Shake, and in about 8 to 9 months, you go with like over 1.4 billion shakes that, you know, we saw during that cycle. We accumulated over 15 billion VodaBucks, 15 billion, with a consistent redemption rate of 50%. So the numbers are really quite like that satisfies really the investment that you've done, and considering that this was a prototype. So by all means, it had absolutely not represented 100% of the features that we want. We're still scratching the surface in as far as how far we're going to evolve it. Like, the machine is absolutely amazing. So that's the first piece. So financially, we could track it on a daily basis. We could tell you exactly how many millions incremental we're yielding at the back of this program. And that was the summer campaign, of course, because we leveraged it strategically. So with the relaunch, now you have loyalty as a profit center. So any monies that are going out and in and everything else that we do, the partnerships that we have, we have a P&L to measure that. So that, again, we're already watching it on a daily basis.
Great, great, thank you. It's probably one of the critical questions that a lot of brands struggle to actually measure, but a lot of brands, if you get it right, absolutely must. It's great to hear that the loyalty rewards activities being mentioned in the investor reports, because so many brands, it isn't. We track those frequently because we're always looking for published information, and very few brands actually ever mention loyalty or rewards or customer performance in the investor relations discussion. So it's great to see that. It shows that it's starting to get serious traction at the right level.
Yeah, look, I mean, I would say it's like almost loyalty in Vodacom is like a startup. We now have our own, brand identity and CI, and the mother brand is the mother brand that enables us to tap into the value. But Vodacom is a sales, they sell. What the guys are doing, they want to sell data and airtime, that's it.
Yeah.
So if they put skin in the game, you gotta account for every cent that they've invested, behind that. And I think the way the capability has been built, it really allows you to measure success, and it's very dynamic, it's very agile. If the customer complains today on social media and say that rewards suck or that journey didn't like it, we immediately pull it out. So we use our social media channel as the customer voice,
Right.
and you can see it almost instantly. The moment there was one person last week who said, I want to opt out from the comms, because remember, we've made so many changes and we need to communicate all of this. We need to teach you, once you've earned, you can't just spend. We've completely introduced something that is the first in loyalty, where it's a banking feature. So we say, hey, Mr. Customer, we want you to put skin in the game. You're going to earn our VodaBucks, like lazy bucks, because you're going to recharge anyway. But to give you some level of commitment, you got to bank them. We'll make it very simple for you. You bank your bucks. Once you bank them, then you can spend it. That's the first for telco. And I'm sure a lot of guys who are running the programs will almost relate. So it's a big risk that we took, because customers are not used to banking their VodaBucks. But it has two main strategic reasons to drive your provisioning as well as your customer engagement. So it's like almost what Lee would call our weekly reward cycle. That it's like almost you have a goal every week to come and bank your bucks. That is really forcing you to engage with us almost on a daily basis, because you can bank any time of the week. But then by midnight, if you didn't bank your bucks, we reset you to zero and we start in a clean slate, as Lee would call it. So I love her because she used beautiful words. I mean, if you would have heard what I would have said, I'm sure that the entire base was going to just run away. So it's really, really kind of a fascinating machine with a lot of variables and complexities, but the model is working.
It reminds me a little bit around, often I smile when people talk about Vitality Active Rewards, because why would I ever go to an insurance app? It's not something I have to make a decision about every day.
Yeah.
But if I'm addicted to my Active Rewards dial or the tiles and so forth, it gives me a reason to get engaged on an insurance app, which I wouldn't normally be engaged on. So that I understand. We've got two more questions coming through. I've got another question as a backup, but we might not need it because I think we're getting answers here. Cosmas Ranyawa.
Yeah.
Well done, Mateboho. Please tell us how the phone shaking tech works. Might find use for it on phone snatching, theft, and fraud. Not sure. I don't know.
About the shake, or I didn't quite get the question.
Sorry, tell us how the phone shaking tech works. How does it work?
It's just a gimmick that you embed. I mean, that's why on a smartphone it would like literally vibrate as you shake it. It's really a gimmick. We had a partner that enabled that functionality. and they built it. So you can even change the animation anytime. But on USSD, of course, you wouldn't get that level of, the richness of the engagement. But yeah, it's just really something that was embedded on the app, and then the techies just brought in that whole, live vibration to give you a sense of that fun. But it's really nothing complex.
Great, thank you. From a next question, Hayden Townsend, you mentioned marketing as a key department you interact with, and the summer campaign is clear proof point of that. Do you ever consider integrating the brand or brand idea beyond the transactional and rewards components?
There's lots, but obviously there's no NDAs in this virtual webinar, so I wouldn't quite divulge much, but definitely.
Very open source.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to say, by the way, Cosmos is my ex-boss from Discovery. He's probably the guy who really got me to be where I am today. Very brilliant. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed working with him. It's really quite an honor to have him online. So yeah, I don't know if you have other questions, Amanda.
I've got one more question, and then I will try and wrap this up because we're already over our time, but we still have all the participants. I can see the number isn't going down. So normally I get a sense when people have had enough, they just drop off. Zandile Maredi, why are competition winners not visible or advertised?
So that has been probably one of the third one I should have added as a challenge. Look, we are a startup, I would say. So there was that question around the marketing. So Vodacom is a monster. There's a huge budget on multiple things that happen, and loyalty is not even one of them. So what we do, we really, really try. We do have a winners page. One of the things that Lee is still really helping us with is we are building what Lee calls like a wall of fame. And we never used to have that. So loyalty at Vodacom hasn't been really a key strategic focus point, and that's why it took over 18 months for me to be pitching the same thing to get here today. So one of the things that we are evolving is really a very fascinating wall of fame, and whatever we call it, where we can show off and showcase our winners. We do that, try to get their pictures, and we put it in this winners page. It's nothing exciting, so it's not really out there. But one of the beauties of the relaunch is that we've been given a blue canvas now, finally, and you're going to start seeing some changes, and it's really going to be fascinating. But I need to mention that customers are very complex. I think I said this in one of the panel that Lee hosted at Gibbs. Customers are complex. Some says, I don't want people to know that I've gotten this car for free. I want them to think I bought it. So I don't want to give you my name, and I don't want you to put my details out there. And for others, it's really for reasons of safety. So if you win a millionaire, and you're living in Kwamashu, you don't necessarily want people to know that you now have so much cash and access to cash. So it's always really just being mindful, and that balancing act of, if a customer says, I don't want my face to be out there, we have to respect that privacy, although we do get them to give consent for us to, share their information, but we are mindful, and it's really, we have to respect where our customers are coming from.
Of course, absolutely. There are no further questions. I'm going to just leave maybe for a short second in case anyone else has any other burning questions. Please feel free to type them. Otherwise, we are coming to the end of our webinar. What I will do is say our official thank yous, and then people can drop off, and maybe you and I can stay online for a minute or two longer in case there are any more questions. Thank you so much for A, giving up the time, B, being so open and honest. I think that's one of the things that I most miss sometimes in the industry. Everyone's so sort of closed doors and cloak and dagger and can't talk about it. And yet you've been able to share some real great insights. And I think the more of that we have as a loyalty profession, the better we can raise the bar and start really seeing some phenomenal customer experiences through this industry that we're all enjoying. So Thank you so much, Mateboho, and we wish you nothing but all the success with your great program going forward. And let's see those numbers. Maybe the numbers won't go up because the magnitude is even bigger, but the actual engagement.
They have to go up, otherwise I'm in trouble.
But maybe the depth of engagement needs to go up. Maybe the quantum of customers is already huge.
Look, I mean, from my side, I just really want to give a shout out to all our partners. They've been absolutely phenomenal. We've got absolutely amazing brands, Pick and Pay, of course. We have Kauai, we have, you know, the likes of Uber, we have Discom, really partnerships that allow us to really narrate our proposition in the form of a purpose-led program that is informed by looming consumer trends. So we're really quite grateful to have such an amazing, you know, set of professionals to work with. And given the fact that loyalty, you don't have resources, they all form part of our team. I always say Mr. Bradshaw is one of our execs. So I see everybody that we partner with as part of our exco. So thanks, guys. And I'm really looking forward to getting this thing off the ground and us start disrupting your industries in one way or the other.
I've just seen a few chat comments, not questions, and one is from John at Pick and Pay. It says, keep crushing it, M&M.
Yeah.
Lovely comments from folks saying, well done to you and thank you for your honesty. So that's great. And I think I've seen who's on the attendees list. That's why I'm staring so intently at the screen. A lot of the partners you mentioned are listening, so I'm sure they'll appreciate your generosity and thanks. So thank you, everybody, for... Oh, there's one more question. Let's not get... Anyone can go off now, but if you don't mind, Mateboho, we have Lisa Cameron.
Hey, yes, Lisa's one of our guys, yeah.
So it's a thank you to us, saying, great to hear the details. Very much looking forward to having the same success next year. So, okay.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah.
Okay, everybody, we are very grateful. I can see another question. I just don't want to leave anyone off. Great program from your other favorite partner, Big Save.
Yay, a big call out to Big Save. Thanks, guys. I mean, look, guys, we have brilliant partners. I'm really privileged, and these guys have the highest resilience because we were negotiating in the middle of a lockdown. So I know there's a lot of grit with the partners that we have. So anyone who's there is someone who embraces a crisis, and they make the best out of it. So all my partners are really like very disruptive, very innovative, very hungry, and hence whoever who made it to this first wave those are the guys that are extremely disruptive, and I'm expecting a lot to come from their brands, and we're grateful to really have you as part of the broader team, because together we're going to win. And of course, the fulfillment partner that makes it all happen, Y Group, it's absolutely amazing, allows us to scale. We can issue 2 million ice creams per day. Steers has been one of those that we really stretched it with, you know, their uptake was absolutely amazing, and it gives Y Group, you know, that scalability. So big ups to the Y Group team. Love working with them. They extend our team. Big ups to our behavioral linguistic firm, Lee and Tegan. So really, we are surrounded by excellence and amazing talent through our partnerships.
Stunning. Well, that's great. And I'm sure all of those brands you've just mentioned are super delighted. Final thing from myself is I have the luxury of being a judge on the Global Loyalty Magazine Awards. And in the past, Mateboho, I've seen, for the last few years, I've seen quite a few telcos feature on there. I'd like to encourage you I'll send you the details when it's released. I think you most definitely must think about entering that for 2021 on the global stage.
Well, so the team always said we are not launching a South African only program, hence we called it VodaBucks. So Vodafone, we actually want to disrupt the Vodafone model. So we want to see all markets take up this currency because it's a universal currency. So our ultimate aim, beyond being, you know, the most loved program in South Africa, we want to be a household name. Our ultimate is really being the most leading global rewards program that you can get. and it's looking good. So long, I won't divulge much about what we're going to do with other markets, but that's really our ambition. And if we don't reach it, then we must just really hit a plateau with the South African base and absolutely put it on steroids. So really exciting times ahead.
Yeah, so I see that Chuck from Currency Alliance, who are the main sponsors of the Loyalty Magazine Awards, is online as well.
Yeah.
Vodafone won one of the categories, like one of the awards categories last year with the Very Me campaign. So
yes, it was beautiful.
Yeah, as you say, you can give them a run for their money on the global stage for 2021.
Yeah.
So Chuck,
So it's
thanks
very
for joining us.
funny. Yeah, it's very funny because when the guys were creating CI, they sent us Very Me with nice, beautiful hearts. And I was like, guys, Very Me is aspiring to what we're doing. So we have to be the leaders in that regard. So South Africa, by the way, is rated best practice when it comes to CVM and CRM and loyalty across the entire globe. With Vodafone. So we are like the market leaders, if I may call it that. So we really, really looking forward to seeing other markets adopting VodaBucks. And as a group, we scale it across the globe, and hopefully we could be the #1 leading, loyalty program globally.
In the world.
In the world, that's what we're looking for. It's a very bold mission, but it's really, we're having fun. The engine is such that it's nimble enough to allow us to tweak it. So I'm looking forward to see how the guys are gonna experience the banking feature. It's really quite a disruptive one in loyalty. So it's gonna be interesting. I was explaining it to Lynn. So I'm looking forward to see Bradshaw introducing a banking feature on his Smart Shopper program.
Yeah, we'll see. So all of the chat comments are very complimentary, Mateboho, thanking you for your honesty and transparency. So especially from myself, I'm very grateful. Truth is very honored to have you as a guest on our webinars, and to all of our attendees, thank you. The video will be available. We look forward to sharing it with you. And yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, from all of us at Truth. And special thanks, Mateboho, once again, and good luck. Keep going.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Keep well.
Bye. Bye.
Cheers.